Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November 26th Google Education Group for Instructional Coaches meeting. Today, we're talking all about Notebook LM and how we can use it in our Instructional Coaches department. With me, as always, is our co-host, Ms. Cami Canikins. Cami, how are you today? Welcome to our meeting.
Welcome. Hello. I am coming to you from Canada, where it is not the eve of Thanksgiving. And so we would love to know in the chat tonight, where are you coming to us from? I know we often have a very international audience, and probably more so tonight as everyone else is getting ready to have some Thanksgiving holiday tomorrow in the United States. So please let us know where you're coming from in the chat. And Jeff, I think it's helpful for us to know on a scale of 1 to 5, as far as your notebook use. 5 is like you couldn't live without notebook, you use it every day. Are you a 5 or are you a 1, which maybe is like, well, I've made an account and I've opened it once. Where are you along there? You can tell us that in the chat. Jeff, where would you fall?
I honestly feel like I'm in that 4 range, 4.5. But, every time I turn around, there's more things out there and I feel like a 2. And, tonight we're going to be talking all about Notebook LM, something that I really jumped in on both feet over the summertime and got my school together, got some of my teachers together. And now that we're heading into that January change of the semester, I'm looking at what I created proudly, but I'm saying to myself, Cami, I kind of have to start this whole thing again, because Notebook LM over the last few weeks has completely gone through a change. And we're going to talk about all those different things. Before we do, I want to remind everybody, we do have a fantastic live audience. So please feel free to use the chat. We're also going to be welcoming people up onto the podium to just share and to give some demonstrations. This is Google Education Group for Instructional Coaches. We are a global group. Anybody can join. We're going to make sure in the description of our YouTube channel here, we'll put all the links. This is our website where you can find not only all the great things about signing up for a Google Education Group, but we also have all of our current and past events. We also have information for Google Education online courses. If you want to become a Google Education Group instructional leader in your area, for your state, country, region, you can certainly do that too. We also have a ton of instructional coaching resources that are all free to check out and to enjoy. Looks like we're having some issues on that, but that's certainly okay. And of course, you can always check out all the great links over here for the Google EDU blog and whatnot. But today, Cami, we're talking all about Notebook LM, and you've been doing a little bit of this work in your coaching program. How has the first part of the year using AI been for you and your school district?
Well, before I answer that, I see that Mike Davola is in the house, and he's on a scale of 1 to 5 for Notebook. I think Mike is a 6. So, Mike, I'm sure we'll want to hear from you, so you can chime in at any time. Thank you for joining us tonight. In my district, like some of your other districts were like, yes, AI, slow AI, what does that look like? So while I've been using it lots as a coach and, in coach and admin roles, we've been dripping it out to teachers. Last year, at least last year, probably, soon after Notebook LM became available in Canada, we did lots of after-school PDs, and so we introduced it. But, teachers don't necessarily run out and try it. This past month, though, we built notebooks in my district for all of our school leaders for a project that my superintendent wanted to do. So as coaches, we built these notebooks that went along with our strategic plan. And I showed all of our leaders, again, how to use it. And it was like, their brains were exploding. And so every week or every day for the last 2 weeks, I have a school leader that says, hey, that was so great. My teachers need this. How do I build one for my teachers? Can you come help my teachers build a Notebook LM? And so I think part of the, what I'd like to put together, or what I've noticed, is that once we get, it's so important to show a use case that makes sense in your place, like whatever that looks like for what your teachers, what your school needs it. And if it's like meeting a need, wow, that just lights the sparks and fires.
Let's take a look at where we are. Now, it is important to say to everybody, we are recording this on November 26th. Next week, Google might put out a completely different version with a lot of neat features. We put together a small Notebook LM. And this is what it looks like right now. On the left side here, we've got our sources. And a source, Cami, is what? It's a website. It's a doc. It can... how would you describe a source to somebody?
Well, Jeff, if you just want to click on the top left where it says plus source, a source is the thing. So like you actually, so for those of you, I think most of you are somewhat familiar with Notebook, but if you aren't, the beauty of Notebook, the draw to Notebook, is that unlike Gemini or other tools that scrape everything on the web and you have, you know, what random people are saying, the beauty, the power, the allure of Notebook is that you get to decide exactly what your AI is using. And so that is so attractive to so many people, Jeff, that idea that I get to put in there what I choose, and then you can click the check boxes to say, I'm going to use these four, but not these four. So you can see there the sources, but actually, I believe just this week, Google Spreadsheets or Google Sheets have become an official source. And I've used Google Sheets in the past with some success. But I know this week there was an announcement, or within the last 10 days anyways, that now Google Sheets are like great, you know, like they can be used with good accuracy. And so that's exciting. So we've got upload from Workspace, some website links. So, you know, there you're picking the website, you're picking the YouTube piece, or copied and pasted text. So those are the sources. I've used it lots, and you can see there the list is growing there. The type of file extensions. I don't even know what an AVIF file is, for example. But there's lots and lots there.
Pretty much, if you have it, it can ingest it.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is you can also discover sources. Now, all of the sources come in here on the left side, and all it's really doing is it's taking the website or the doc or whatever it is title. Well, what does that mean? Not much sometimes. I can click into here, and this basically pulls up a text version of what the source is. And I can do a couple clicks around. I can check things. I can even click this little open a new tab, and it opens what the source is. But again, like, what does this actually mean? Well, the cool thing is over here, if you take a look at these three dots, A, I can remove it, but B, I can rename it.
I often do that for
and
sure.
This is really cool, right? Like if I have a bunch of different stuff, I can rename this into something that is useful for me. And that's going to be important when we start talking later on about how do you share these things. Like I can take this notebook and I can share it with the Cami. I can share it with my teachers, and my teachers don't need to see Google Docs editor help. They can see, how do you make a Google Doc? They can see, how do you make a Google Vids? How do you can change the words so that way the people who are looking at this can understand what it is. Now,
I was just going to say that is so important. In the notebooks that I built for my school leaders, that was a big step of what we did, because, you know, you're pulling in these spreadsheets and these files that have the big long names that someone else has named and put in Google Drive. And so to name them something that makes sense for the purpose so that people can check them and uncheck them. It seems like such a simple thing, but there's so much power, especially like you said, when you're sharing those, to be able to edit them, the names.
Now, anything that's here in the middle is only pulling from what's over here on the left side. The nice thing about that is you can check on and check off what isn't here. So for instance, I started to put this together by finding different Google help on docs, sheets, slides, vids, forms, etc. But if I only want to start synthesizing the Google Docs things or the Google Vids things, I can turn everything off, but check only the ones that I need. Then I can start asking questions of this, and I'm just going to check these back in here. I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities to do this, especially when I put my book impact standards in here. I stuck the PDF of the book, and I said, organize this for me, outline this for me, help me create marketing materials. Can you make some LinkedIn and tweets and stuff? But you can also use all of this to say, all right, if I'm an instructional coach, let's type a couple things in here, Cami. I'm an instructional coach. Can you help me generate a newsletter to help my teachers learn about Google Vids? Keep it simple. for them to understand. Now, Cami, again, what is the difference here between doing this in Notebook LM or doing this in Gemini? Why would I want to do Notebook LM versus going into Gemini? As you see right here, it's popping out a pretty detailed answer.
Well, like we talked about, it's only using my sources. Now, sometimes people say, well, in Gemini, can't I add the sources, right? There's a little plus button and you can go into your drive or your computer and you can upload sources to help it. And it will use those. You can instruct them to use that, but it still will pull from the internet. So again, the Notebook LM is like this funnel, this laser focus of the tools that you have chosen. And then one of the things that I love about Notebook LM is if you look at all those little notes, those little numbers, it's footnoting everything. And so that is so powerful. Gemini does that a bit, but nothing like this, right? So wherever that's coming from, it'll take us right to the source. And so that's so powerful too.
Gemini does a great job at this, but it forgets. And that's important. Like Gemini, if you haven't talked to your Gemini chat in, I don't know, 30, 60 days, it will forget about you. It will forget where it found the sources. Whereas with this, the next step is going, okay, I've got this information. Oh, it's even found a video. It's great. I can now save it to a note. And a note is everything over here. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that this has. And then let's talk a little bit about how we can do stuff as a coach. Now, again, over here on the left side, this is just all of these different resources about how can a coach teach Google Workspace. Real simple. I created a simple prompt, and just to showcase everything here tonight on our meeting, I basically asked it to create a bunch of stuff. The nice thing over here is we've got a bunch of options.
Hey, Jeff, before you jump into those so exciting options, one thing that I realize that lots of people don't necessarily get when they use Notebook, and we should always be putting, this is something that I realize is really important for our teachers. If you go down to in your chat panel in the middle, can you just highlight the save note button?
Yes, right here.
So what that does right there, after every kind of chat feature, if that is a great thing, if it's something that turned out great and it's like, I want to use this again, super important that you click that. And then what that does is it pops it over to the studio side, it saves it. Whereas if you just leave it in the middle, it'll disappear. And then what you can also do from the studio side, once it becomes an item, is then you can then flip it over to the sources so that you can use it, turn it off and on, and it can become part of your material. So just that little note, that little save to note button is so important, because I've had teachers that have said, oh, I made this thing in Notebook and it disappeared because they didn't know about the save to note. So just that's a super important thing that we should remember to point out to new users. Okay, all of those nice
that is powerful. I'll just as an example, like my book is 90,000 words. The first thing I said was, can you condense this and make it easier for me? I made it a source. I then stuck it back onto the left side, and then I said, make the audio show out of this.
Yes, instead
of looking at the 90,000 words, I said, condense it down to 20, and then let's have some fun with this. There are so many new options here. And it's easy just to click on audio overview, mind map, flashcards. I'm going to show you what some of these things look like down here. But if you click on the pencil, each one of these is now popping up new options. So this is the audio overview. You can call it the podcast. I use these constantly in my school. I don't know if the kids are listening to them, but I use these for all of my projects. I use these for a lot of the source material that we're using. So I want to do a deep dive, a brief, a critique, a debate, short, long, and sometimes I use the same prompt. Sometimes I try different prompts depending on what I'm looking for. And so I can create one of those. And I don't know, Cami, I don't know if you can hear the words. I don't know if you can hear the audio or not. But
I think it's caught in your ear headphones.
Probably. So this actually comes out. I mean, I'm really happy with the way that these things are done podcasts. And I've noticed that if I take a prompt now that I used in the summertime, the audio is just better. In fact, over the summertime, a lot of my stuff I made podcasts out of, and I'm going back and redesigning them. So that's the audio overview. Video overview, same idea, but now you've got all these different visual styles. I'll show you a few of them here. And again, do I want an explainer or a brief? That's really important, because now as a teacher or as a coach explaining something, I can create a prompt that says, here's the directions I'm going to go through for my PD session. Can you create a video about this? Or can you create an explainer, or can you create a whiteboard? So you're either using it as a supplement to what you're doing, or you're giving yourself, I'm going to play the video now as I walk around the room. I do that a lot in my classroom. And go ahead.
Well, and I was just going to say, like that bottom piece, what do you want the AI hosts to focus on? Sometimes my teachers have said, well, I use that podcast thing and it's cool, but they were talking about all these things that didn't matter, or all these things that were in my slide deck or in my resources, but it wasn't the main thing. And so, that's again where we can really help our teachers look under the hood, because they don't always press all the buttons like tech coaches like us do, and say, if you wanted to focus on Google Keep, then, tell it here, Google Keep. Plus you can also like click and unclick, but if you don't want it to bring in extraneous, help it out by giving it some specifics. And that actually does make a huge difference.
Now, is this perfect? No. Right. And you can see where they're going with this. For instance, I just popped up the share thing here, and Cami will make sure that we blur some of this stuff out here. But it would be nice if eventually this says export to vids and I can automatically do it. It would be nice if it says export out to slides. I have been known to screenshot some of these because I want to use them in slides, but it's not bad. I can, of course, download this. I love the fact here, Cami, especially now that I'm going back and redoing some of these. There's my prompt. And you can see for this, just for the demo here today, can you create a video tutorial of how to use Google Docs? Something simple, right? I didn't go too far into it. And I just like how detailed. I mean, this is all the Nano Banana upgrade, but you could just see how, I wish I could make slides looking like this.
Yeah, so if you haven't been in, maybe Mike can help us out, like 10 days? Like when did they launch?
About 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago, 10 days. If you haven't been in Notebook or Gemini in the last 2 weeks, the infographic and the image, like basically they're using the new Gemini 3, and the image, the slides, the images, the visuals that it's generating are just, if you use the video tool or the video generation in Notebook before, it was quite simple. It was kind of that clean Google look, mostly words, some colors. Like, it was quite smart how it was able to create a video. But the videos now, they're using all of those super powerful image from the Nano Banana. And wow, what it's pumping out is pretty incredible.
So what I just showed you there was the square version. When you click on infographic, you've got landscape, portrait, square, concise, detailed. I had some fun with this. So this one here happens to be the landscape version. And again, like, wow. Now, can you craft this? If I had if I wanted to update my prompt and make it a lot more detailed, of course it can. But look, it found the brand colors for everything. It found the apps for everything. It found there's so many different details kind of lying in here. Let's take a look at this one. This one happens to be the vertical version of it. And again, they're not the same, right? This isn't the same, even though it's the same prompt, even though it's the same content.
Quite different, hey?
These are all different. And I'm not going to lie, every now and then a word does get spelled wrong, and there's no real way of going in there that I know that's easy. Let's see this one here. Quick guide to Google Workspace based on 11 sources. But wow, right? Like, look at how far this is coming in just a little bit here. So you have these infographics, and we're going to have Mike come up in a little bit and share off how he's doing his infographics. The quiz feature, I don't know about this yet. Here it is.
I really, when I use the quiz,
forms, right?
Yeah. When I use the quiz, I'm like, if I could just edit this, if I could just say, okay, these 8 are great, these 2 are terrible, get rid of those. Okay, now I'll share this with my students. So I don't think we can edit it yet.
You can see this is the next step, right? Export to something. And how do you know it's the next step? Because you can do it in Microsoft Copilot. And so you just see, like, okay, they're both neck and neck with these things. Microsoft just came out with brand new stuff. How are we hitting this? The slide deck, fantastic, right? Let me look at the slide deck here. Now, again, can I hit export to slides? Not yet, but these are pretty decent. And yes, you can hit play and it does show. So I can actually play this for somebody. Again, the downside is I can't make this up myself, right? I can't edit this out. This is kind of how it is. Could I try to ask it to fix slide number 3? I don't know. But you can see that the next step is, export this into. So there's a lot of neat, look, all the screenshots are here. It's all looking nice. This one, I basically just said, how do you create a slideshow teaching a teacher how to make a self-graded quiz? There it is. You, as a coach, couldn't ask for anything more on this, except for export to slides, I guess. But yeah, lots of neat stuff.
That's coming, hey? Like when we were in some of those sneak peeks with the Google people there, it's like, well, no, it's only PDF now, but slides certainly seem to be coming.
So here's a question for you, and let's just do a little coaching role playing here. And if anybody in the chat wants to mention this too, as a teacher, all right, let's say that I'm coming to you, Cami, as a coach. Do I make one notebook LM for my class? Do I make one per unit? Because I know as a class, I can actually rename these to unit 1 something, unit 2 something. I can do that. But do I want to have one that's searching everything for the course, or do I want to make 20 of these for each chapter?
Well, I think the answer is probably in the middle, and we'll all have different ideas. I think if it's the year-end review, you want everything. I think for students, sometimes less is more. So I would do it on like a sizable chunk, because students aren't necessarily going to be picking the sources. They'll be more using the chat feature. And that students also, I don't believe, can generate, when they use our notebook, they can't generate items. So basically they have access to what we've put in the studio.
Now there's 2 different ways to share this with students. Mm-hmm. One of them is you give them view access to the whole thing, where they can see everything here. They can see all the stuff on the left side. They can see the right side, and they can interact with the chat. The other way is they just see the middle, right?
I don't know. And someone can maybe help me out in the chat. I think the part where they can just see the middle is a feature that only is available if you have a AI Pro add-on in Google.
Maybe that's where I'm getting, because I've got full notebook or chat only. But again, I'm also here running. I'm
pretty sure that the chat only is just in the Pro. Yeah, Judy's confirming that. So some of you might have Pro. If you don't, if you're like me and you just have good old regular, I can share it. I have to actually type.
This is what it looks like if you've got just the chat, right?
Yeah, that's the Pro version. I'm jealous.
Now, but my question is, right now in my district, the teachers have access to Gemini. The students don't. Can the students still study from this as an example? Can I give them this to prepare for tests and materials and how-tos and stuff like that?
Well, I think again, we can crowdsource this, but Notebook and Gemini are now available within Google Classroom. So I can use my Google Classroom, and when you go to make an assignment or make something, Notebook, if it's turned on for teachers can use that. And so in our district, we don't have Notebook turned on for students, but as a teacher, I can use Notebook from Google Classroom to create resources something from resources I've put in my classroom, and then I can basically share as a view only, right? A tool that the students can basically, it's like a website. Then they can press the buttons and do the things.
Now, I want to bring up.
Judy makes a good point too. Yes, Judy, I believe you can only share at this point. An education notebook can only be shared in the same domain. So
We have a really amazing audience tonight. Mike, would you like to come up here? Mike, how are you doing today? Feel free to introduce yourself, Mike.
Yeah, sure. My name is Mike. I'm a technology staff developer on Long Island in New York, and I've been using Notebook LM for a very long time. But when I first saw the infographics and the slides, I thought, wow, this is really, really amazing how it can take anything and turn it into anything, like it can be molded into almost everything.
And what kind of mold do you like, Mike?
Do you mind if I share my screen?
Please.
Okay, so hold on one second. Let me do this. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Okay. So here we go. So the first thing I wanted to share, because I had this question before, was about the limits of Notebook LM, and I can throw this in the chat after. But with regular Notebook LM, you get 100 notebooks. So even for the K-12 version, I've hit that limit before.
Can you slide your Google Meet to the right?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry.
And then the 50 sources is where I typically bump up against the limit.
Yeah, hold on. How do I get this? There we go. Now it's moved. 100 notebooks, 50 sources, up to 500 words, 1,000 words each, which you wouldn't think that would be hit, but it would be. I tried it once before. I tried to export my ChatGPT history and put it in here, and it got limited. You only get 50 chat queries per day. You only get 3 audio generations, 3 video generations, 10 reports, 10 quizzes, 10 flashcards. And the number for slides and infographics isn't said, but it's limited right now.
And if I'm correct in this, because I did talk to Google, and again, this is kind of going back to the differences between Gemini and Notebook, right? If I put a website into Notebook, it basically caches that, right? We saw that on the left side, it captures all the text, meaning if tomorrow Google changes their support website, your Notebook doesn't know that. Whereas with Gemini, it's always going to go fetch the latest thing because you're telling it to go look at the website. That is a real distinction. So if you're doing something, let's say to a class website, a project or a policy or something to that effect, and then those things change, you come back 6 months later, you could be searching off of incorrect information or outdated information.
Yes. And I think it's interesting. I right now subscribe to Pro, even though my K-12 account gives me the regular Notebook LM, just because I like to play with it. And there is limits for the Pro as well, 20 daily video generations. That I've hit before, and the slides are pretty much up there too. So in Notebook LM, I can show a couple of things, but one of the things that I did was in one of the classes at the high school level, we have an amazing library media specialist. She talked about disinformation and was comparing it to AI and Animal Farm. And all I did was record her audio. I asked her for permission, of course, but I recorded her talking about the lesson. She was doing the lesson. So I took 35, 40 minutes of audio and put it in as my only source. And I think the coolest thing is the pencil feature that you mentioned before, this piece of being able to mold it the way you would like. So that's your customization. So one of the times I like to press the button once, just regular, to show me what I have. And then whoops, sorry, get that out of here. And then I press the pencil and I can explain, do I want it to be landscape, portrait, or square? And I can choose the amount of detail, concise, less words on the page, good for like an Instagram post, or detailed where it explains everything. And it took the 40 minutes and it made this very nice graphic where it was talking about all the things that were said. This one has about deepfakes and Tom Cruise. So it made a generated Tom Cruise right
That looks like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. It went through almost everything the way I would expect it to without having any of the slides. And I think that's the cool part. One of the things that I showed was there's 2 modes of slide deck creation in the pencil. There's detailed, which is like just straight up explaining very comprehensively everything that was happening. And then there's presenter slides. And that's like the, like if you were presenting at a keynote presentation in front of an audience, less words on the slides, lots of visuals. Yeah. And the two differences are pretty cool. So the same lesson this is the detailed one where, I don't know if that's going to play. So detailed, you could see all the detail. This is an AI generated image about an AI generated image. So, and it also explains, if I move myself over again, why it was AI generated. It's explaining like unnatural smoke and textures, warped architectural elements, nonsensical text and labeling. So it's kind of being meta in the sense that it's overlapping. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the amazing one was the prompt here that I said, slides for the class, create it that appeals to teenagers and has Animal Farm characters throughout. Although the lesson didn't like explicitly talk about Animal Farm, except for like small moments, because I included that in the prompt, it made these very beautiful slides talking about Animal Farm and relating it to the message of the lesson. And they kind of look like, you know, something that I wouldn't be able to do quickly.
And this was from audio. So there was no visual, like you weren't feeding it any visuals. It made this. Like, and if you're familiar with the novel The Animal Farm, oh, look at that. Looks like Barack and that looks like Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with Animal Farm, there's a lot, like I can see those characters and the words, you know, the rules on the barn, like, wow, the sheep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very impressive, and it followed it pretty much exactly. And I think that's the cool part, is that you have to kind of see it happen. So if you don't use it and you want to try recording a lesson that you just did, upload that as a source, and if you want, you can add your Google Slides as a extra source to keep it even more related, and then see what it can do. I feel like that's the best part. And before, when you just asked me, I asked it to prompt how to use Nana Banana. And I made an infographic about how to use Nana Banana Pro using Nana Banana Pro.
Now, so let's do a test. Can you share that with us in the chat?
Sure.
And can we open that, or do you have to download it? What do you think?
Let's see.
Anyone with the link?
I'll press save first, and then anyone the link. Let's see. There we go. I don't know if that'll be able to be shown here. I can share the whole notebook.
Got everything here.
You got everything?
Got everything here. Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that's all I have to share about it. Let me see if I can stop sharing.
When you're showing these things off, Mike, as a coach, who is there a position in your school that finds this more interesting? I mean, do you find that teachers are like, hey, I'm too busy, but maybe your tech director really likes, like, where do you start to promote the different things that we can do? Because we could all go into the superintendent's office and say, this is the greatest thing in the world. That might not be the best place to start.
Yeah. Well, ironically, I did show it to all the curriculum coordinators first and the administrative staff, because there was a meeting that day, and I was like, here, this is what I just did. But I find the best way to show it off is if you have a teacher that's willing to experiment, one of the people that are willing to try something new, show them the real lesson that they do. And that's what I did. As I sat with the library media specialist, I recorded with her, and then she was floored. She was very impressed by it because she knew what the lesson was, and that really sells it because it was her content. So if you're able to do that, you can do that. Otherwise, I do a lot of pajama PD. So at the end of the night, I take the recording of the pajama PD and I put that as a source in Notebook LM. And then I export that out as like a video trailer to summarize the PD. So I'm using it in multiple use cases in that way.
Say that one more time. How do you make the video trailer?
So I take the Zoom recording, because it's a live over Zoom recording, but I could probably do it just from recording myself on the phone. but I take the live recording and then I take the Canvas slides that I export as a PDF. I put that into Notebook LM, and then I prompt the video overview to say, please summarize this, include this information that I really want. And then I share that out to a website that I have. And it looks, it looks kind of nice because it's a 6-minute trailer of a 1 hour long PD.
There's a couple of questions in the chat here. One of them is about sharing preferences. Now, again, your in domain might look different than your out of domain. Mike, I believe yours is in domain. Maybe we can do a little dueling sharing settings here. If I click on share, it pops up with our share settings. And just like a Google Doc, I can add people. I like the fact that I can even do a welcome note. So that way, let's say that I give everybody here this copy link. When you open this up, it should say, hello, GEG instructional coaches. It should. And then down here, what do we have? Well, I want to have everybody with the link, and anybody with the internet can view, or do I just want to have restricted? So I can restrict this based off of a group. I can probably create this and only share it with my Google group or with my classroom Google group from Google Classroom. And then what do we want to have them have access to? The full notebook, or depending on your version of Google here, the chat only. There's a lot of different things that you've got access to as far as sharing and stuff. I have tried putting a link to this on my TeacherCast website and seeing how that was, because one of the things you've got up here is an analytics thing, but you can see here, it's got to be shared with at least 4 other, like it's not Google Analytics. So there's no big point, or from a business end, there's no reason to be putting this on like my main menu of TeacherCast and say, hey, go ask me any question, and me putting stuff up here yet. But you can see all of this stuff is coming.
And I believe too, like if we're talking about sharing, if you're in your personal account, you can share more easily or widely than you can from an education domain. Those are quite, as Judy mentioned, quite locked down to really within your own domain. So you could share, Mike, I'm assuming you shared that from your personal notebook or your personal Gmail account?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so then that's why we can all click and open that. If that had been from his education domain, I believe we would not have been able to. Is everyone in agreement that that's what their experience has been?
That seems to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just also went up here. I'm just button pushing at this point, but over here you've got a little menu option. You can configure chat. What kind of conversation do you have? Learning guide or custom. So you can make a prompt for how it's going to respond to you. One would assume that you can create a prompt for it to be talking to your students and say, look, when you respond, make this at a 2nd grade level. That's kind of powerful in there.
Clever idea again.
Right? Or you could say, hey, I'm sure you could come up with a prompt, please speak with teachers that are not too tech savvy or something like that, right? Like, or, hey, your audience is going to be, cabinet level chief financial officer. These are the kinds of things that they're going to be looking. In other words, you can create a prompt for your audience. And then of course, do I want it shorter, longer, or default? The customization that they're popping out with is absolutely amazing.
That's been a nice improvement, hasn't it? Like, for those of us that have been using it since the beginning, pretty basic. And then it's just, they keep, as Google does, they keep fine tuning it and adding more bells and whistles.
So you can also do light mode, dark mode, manage subscription. I'm not going to open that up right now. I always encourage send feedback. They do listen to these different things. And so, yep, a whole bunch of different stuff is on here. And, whether you have the regular version, the pro version, give it a shot. Like, start pushing buttons, start trying things. The other thing, and we haven't even talked about this, but when you just go to regular notebooklm.google, they've got these starter packs, right? So the science guide to visioning, the Shakespeare one, there's so many different things that you can just start to pop in here.
And those are only available. Oh, actually, here's a hack. Those are only available in the personal ones, like in your Gmail notebook. But what you can do, what I've done, is I've taken that from my personal Gmail and I've shared it with my education one. And so then I can open it in my education notebook and share it with students.
Can you copy it in your education notebook?
Can I copy it? Well, the whole thing, like, I don't know if I can copy it. Actually, I don't know if I can copy
I don't see a duplicate on here. Okay.
I don't think we can, in education, at least, I don't think we can duplicate, but that's right. Like, if I can get that into my school domain at all, I was so excited to do that.
You can see I've been playing around with a bunch of different things. Many of these I'll just kind of get rid of because August, September, they've kind of dated themselves out. But there's so many neat things that were here. And that really is what Google Education Group for Instructional Coaches is all about. And if you haven't had a chance to join yet, you can come on over into our website. I'll make sure that everybody has the link to this. I'm going to put it in our chat right now, but I'll also stick it on the YouTube video. And if you need to, just come on over here and join our instructional coaches community. You can fill out the form. It does give you a link to join our Google group, where we have almost 500 instructional coaches all out here helping out and supporting everybody, and of course, sharing amazing resources. Cami, there's a lot of great things that are happening here, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go in 2026. What about you?
Yes, absolutely. Like, we've had just such a big update into the, with Gemini 3 model and all that can do. And it just, as coaches, I don't know if you feel this, probably lots of you feel the same. It's like, to some extent, we try to be the ones that are keeping up so that we can answer the questions and we know. And it's like, sometimes I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I can keep up anymore. But that's what this group is for, right? So we're here to, say, oh, hey, maybe you haven't seen this yet. This is what this is looking like. Our GEG group, Instructional Coaches Group, is quite active. There's questions that people are posting and answers. And so that's become a really helpful group as well. So make sure you join us if you haven't.
If you're looking for more information about instructional coaching, there's several other great things that we can go to. I am excited that this week we are running our pre-Thanksgiving and post-Thanksgiving Black Friday sale on my brand new book, Impact Standards. You can find out more information over at teachercast.net/standards. Takes you to our Amazon page. You can check it out over on paperback. It is at 50% off right now. So get that today. That's a really good deal. Or you can go to Kindle. It's also available on iBooks. And we also right now are running a special on our Notion templates. If you guys are out there interested in keeping yourself organized, getting into Notion, or coming up with an organizational system that's going to help you keep track of your calendar, keep track of your interactions, keep track of your staff members, keep track of your coaching cycles, keep track of your budget. You can check out all the great stuff over on our Notion templates today. We now have 3 of them. One of them is for digital learning leaders, and we have I don't want to say basic, but we have a brand new one called Instructional Coach OS. And then we've got a little higher one, which I call my coaching dashboard. And there's a lot of great stuff happening, especially this week. Wanted to share all that stuff as we're getting into our Black Friday sales and heading into the holiday season. So, Cami, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us?
No, just if you haven't been in Notebook in a while, you got to head over there and see what it can. I think, lots of you are like, woo, you must be playing because you're like, I see your eyes go, wow, look at what this did. So again, thank you. We have Indonesia in the house and New Zealand. I'm from Canada. Are there other countries? Who else is here? It's always fun to know who our international audience is. If you're from a country that isn't having American Thanksgiving tomorrow, do let us know in the chat before you go. And we have been taking a photo sometimes when we remember, is if you're interested in just putting your camera on for a moment so we can take a group photo. So we don't do much with these. Sometimes they go on our Google site, but it's kind of fun to take a look. I'm just going to grab a little screenshot here. There we've got some friends. Nice. Nice to see everybody.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. And that wraps up this month's episode. Here's a podcaster guy coming out again. That wraps up this month's Google Educators Group. We are putting together all of our dates for December and January. We're going to be continuing to do our meetings. Again, one of them's for coaches and one of them's more of a demo slam. And we look forward to having you guys out there. And so on behalf of Cami and everybody here on the Google Educator Group for Instructional Coaches, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with each other. Good night, everybody.